Not only were the Greeks masters of geometry, they were also masters of optical illusions. Therefore, they built the Parthenon slightly
For
incorrectly.
centuries, the Parthenon stood as the symbol of human perfection. Every column balanced, every curve deliberate, every line a tribute to divine symmetry. But what if that perfection was never real? When Grok AI, a neural system trained to digitally resurrect lost architecture, reconstructed the Parthenon stone by stone, it found something no historian had ever noticed. The temple wasn't symmetrical. It was intentionally distorted. Columns leaned at microscopic angles. The platform itself curved upward, defying geometry. Ratios that should have aligned didn't. At first, experts dismissed it as a rendering glitch, a computational hiccup from too much ancient data. But as Grok dug deeper, those flaws began forming a pattern. Hidden beneath the illusion of perfection lay a blueprint that shouldn't exist, a secret logic encoded in marble, as if the builders were whispering across time. These weren't mistakes. They were messages, and what Grok uncovered next would shatter everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. Long before machines, before algorithms and satellites, there was Athens, rising from the ashes of war. In 447 BCE, the city's leader, Pericles, commanded the impossible. Rebuild the Acropolis not as a symbol of loss, but as proof that humanity could touch the divine. Stone by stone, thousands of workers shaped the Parthenon, a temple to Athena, goddess of wisdom and war. Its architects, Iktinos and Callicrates, calculated every proportion with almost superhuman precision. To the naked eye, the temple seemed flawless, the columns perfectly vertical, the foundation perfectly level. But this was an illusion. The Greeks had built imperfection into perfection. The columns bulged ever so slightly in the middle, a technique called entasis. The floor arched upward, tricking the eye into seeing balance where none existed. Even the corner columns were thicker, compensating for distortion under sunlight. For centuries, scholars believed these refinements were aesthetic genius, proof of Greek mastery over perception. But Grok AI saw something deeper, because when it recreated the Parthenon's original form, the distortions didn't just correct vision, they connected, forming a pattern, one the human mind was never meant to see. 2,400 years later, the Parthenon was falling apart, weathered by time, pollution, and centuries of war. What once symbolized divine harmony had become a ruin of fractured stone and fading memory. That's when a team of engineers and archaeologists turned to Grok AI, a neural architecture built to see patterns too complex for human perception. They fed it every known measurement, ancient sketch, and laser scan ever recorded. Millions of fragments across decades of research. Piece by piece, Grok reconstructed the Parthenon in digital space, not as it looks today, but as it once stood, new, radiant, untouched. But as the simulation took shape, Grok began highlighting inconsistencies, columns that didn't align, ratios that defied known design principles. It wasn't a glitch. The data was flawless. Something within the Parthenon's geometry didn't fit any known mathematical system. Not Euclidean, not harmonic, not sacred proportion. And then, Grok did something no human could. It layered the distortions over one another. What emerged wasn't chaos. It was a signal. Grok's data visualization reached the marble's core, mapping every surface, every fracture, every microscopic cavity. That's when it detected something impossible. Inside one of the Parthenon's columns, a sealed chamber no larger than a human hand, lay a perfect void. It shouldn't exist. The marble, quarried solid, had no reason to contain hollow space. Engineers assumed an air pocket, until Grok cross-referenced 2012 restoration reports. There, in a single forgotten note, archaeologists described removing a small bronze bowl hidden behind a triglyph, a relic sealed since 438 BC. Inside it, burnt soil, a fragment of animal bone, and traces of ash. It wasn't debris. It was a ritual. This was no accidental burial. It was deliberate, placed high within the temple's wall during its final days of construction, an offering to Athena. The workers had paused their labor, climbed the scaffolding, lit a sacred fire, and sealed the bowl into the stone. A thank you for divine protection and a plea for favor. For nearly 2.5 millennia, that secret offering remained locked inside marble, until Grok found it again. But the bowl wasn't alone. When Grok scanned deeper, I found 2 more. Grok's scans didn't stop at one discovery. Buried in the archives of past restorations, 2 more bronze objects appeared, overlooked for decades. The first, found in 1986, a shallow bronze bowl wedged between marble beams, dented and splashed with traces of red pigment. A builder's paint pot. The second, uncovered in 1994, a fragment of a kylix, a drinking cup once used in rituals to Athena. Its inscription read simply, "To the goddess." Both were centuries older than the Parthenon itself, and both had been reused. Grok cross-referenced every find, and a pattern emerged. Each vessel was once a votive offering, repurposed by the temple builders. A bowl that once held sacred oil now held paint. A ritual cup became a construction tool. To modern eyes, this might look like sacrilege, but to the Athenians, it was devotion. Every hammer strike, every brush of pigment, was a prayer made physical. They didn't separate work from worship. They built their faith into stone. The Parthenon, Grok realized, wasn't constructed by laborers. It was raised by believers. But Grok's discoveries weren't only hidden in marble. Its next clue would come not from stone, but from a shepherd's carving made nearly 2,600 years ago. As Grok processed its next data set, ancient carvings and surface scans from the hills southeast of Athens, it detected something unusual. A fragment of graffiti carved into marble, older than the Parthenon by nearly a century. The drawing showed a temple, complete with columns, steps, and a peaked roof. Next to it, an inscription, "To Hecatompedon Mekon," the 100-foot building of Mekon. The problem? No 100-foot temple existed in Athens, at least not anymore. Grok compared the sketch to known measurements from beneath the Parthenon, and everything matched. The dimensions, the column spacing, even the base proportions, all identical to a destroyed structure buried beneath the current temple's foundation. This was evidence of an older shrine, the Hecatompedon, a forgotten temple of Athena that stood centuries before Pericles' marble masterpiece. The AI reconstructed its image, revealing charred marble fragments and broken sculptures long dismissed as rubble. They weren't debris from construction. They were remains of a temple burned by Persian invaders in 480 BC. The Parthenon wasn't built on empty rock. It was raised on the bones of its predecessor, a resurrection carved from sacred ruins. And that resurrection hid one final secret, beneath the floor itself. Grok's next breakthrough didn't come from hidden chambers or lost blueprints, but from the surface of the marble itself. By analyzing microscopic chisel patterns, Grok detected what no historian had ever mapped: the signatures of the builders. Each craftsman's hand left a rhythm, a pattern of strikes, a curve of pressure, a personal code etched into eternity. 47 distinct tool styles, 47 human stories. Some marks appeared only on interior blocks, rough, functional, unseen. Others glimmered on exterior marble, where perfection mattered most. Grok realized the Parthenon wasn't built by anonymous labor. It was crafted by masters, each specializing in a layer of the goddess's home. It even found mistakes, cuts too deep, corners misaligned, blocks rotated, then fixed. The builders weren't divine. They were human, brilliant, flawed, relentless. And beneath the grand illusion of symmetry, Grok saw something unexpected. The same southwest corner that held the ritual offering was also the most reinforced point in the entire structure. The place of prayer was also the place of greatest stress. Faith and engineering, perfectly aligned. But Grok's final scan would expose something no human had ever seen. Not above the marble, but far below it. As Grok's digital reconstruction neared completion, its algorithms flagged one final anomaly: a hollow beneath the Parthenon's central platform. No ancient texts mentioned it. No modern scans had confirmed it. But Grok's model showed a void, symmetrical, stone-lined, perfectly circular. At first, experts assumed it was an unfinished cistern, until Grok rendered the chamber in full detail. Its walls were etched with spirals, not decorative, but geometric. Each spiral corresponded to lunar cycles encoded in marble. It wasn't storage, it was a clock, a timekeeper buried beneath a temple dedicated to wisdom. The chamber aligned precisely with the sun's position during the Panathenaic festival, when Athena's new robe was presented each year. And deep inside its floor, Grok detected metallic traces, copper, gold leaf, and iron residue arranged in concentric circles. Some experts believe it was part of an ancient resonance experiment, using vibration and sound to amplify chants. Others think it was a spiritual interface, a literal bridge between the human and the divine. Whatever it was, the data proved one thing. The Greeks weren't just building monuments, they were building machines of meaning, of motion, of memory. And Grok had just awakened one. When Grok finished its reconstruction, the Parthenon emerged, not as a ruin, not even as a temple, but as a message. Every imperfection, every deliberate curve, every harmonic flaw formed a pattern, a code only modern algorithms could read. The proportions of the temple aligned not just to geometry, but to human biology. The curve of the spine, the angle of the eye, the rhythm of the breath. The Greeks hadn't built a house for a goddess. They had built a mirror for us. Grok's data visualization ended with a single frame, a glowing wireframe of the Parthenon slowly rotating in digital space. As the camera zoomed in, the structure began to breathe, expanding and contracting like a living organism. And then, one final phrase appeared in the data output: continuity achieved. No one knows what triggered it, but one thing is certain: the Parthenon is no longer silent. And now, through Grok's eyes, we may be hearing what the ancients meant for us to find. Not a ruin, but a rebirth.